been 12 months since I first bought the motorhome. I've done 13,000 miles. I've been in Norway, Denmark, all over Scotland in it. I thought it's time we do a 1-year review. In this video, I thought I'd go over all of the things that I wanted to achieve when I was buying a motorhome. The modifications that I've had to make this motorhome work perfectly for me, the things that I like about the van, as well as the things that I dislike, the problems that I've had, and the changes that I've had to make in using the van, going from a transporter to a medium wheelbase van up to something as big as this. Now, before we get into this van and all the information about it, we need to look back first as to sort of what the reasons were why I changed from the other two vans, which ultimately led to buying this van. But before I do that, just want to quickly advertise our travel guide. So we've got the Ultimate Scottish Road Trip, the NC 500 Improved, the Cairngorms and Highlands, the Isle of Arran, the Outer Hebrides, the Borderlands 320, the Ultimate Denmark Road Trip, the Ultimate Norway Road Trip, as well as the Lofoten add-on. All of these are available at the link in the description. And you can also save yourself 20% discount by using the code shown here. Clicking the link in the description. The code works on everything from an individual book to a bundle of all of the books to the instant guides, which is just digital downloads. Use the code, click the link and get yourself a bargain. The code is valid until the end of September. My journey into campervan ownership started in 2019 when I bought myself a brand new VW T6.1 California Ocean. It drove fantastic, it was great to use as a daily car. I used to take the kids to school in it. My issue with it though, despite it being really well built and nice to drive and all the rest of it, is it just feels like a car with a tall roof if you lift it up, or a tent on the top. In all fairness, I got offered about 20 grand more than I paid new, bearing in mind I'd used it and put 20,000 miles on it because of COVID. People were just spending stupid money on it. So I sold it, got myself a VW Grand California. I didn't really look at anything else. I just presumed it would be as well built as the California Ocean was, since VW make that as well. Drove amazing. The gearbox was super smooth, nice and powerful. I liked the look of it. Realistically, it just felt like the transporter just with a wet room. Still need floor space. The lounge seating area was awful. It was literally like sitting in the back seats of a van, which it essentially is. You're just sitting on a bench seat, and I just hated that. So with them past experiences in mind, I went into looking for this van with a list of things that I wanted. First and foremost, and by far the most important thing for me when I was looking to buy a new van, was I wanted a nice, big, comfortable lounge area. After being crammed in essentially a bench seat in the Grand California, I just didn't want that anymore. So this was exactly what I was looking for. You can get the U-shaped ones, and you can get ones like this. You can get with the seats either side. Again, each to their own. For me, I wanted a nice L-shaped seating area so I can sit. If I want to watch the telly, I can. If I want to sit and read, I can. We can sit and play cards. We can sit and eat here. And the second thing for me was a lot of windows. And if you can see by this, there's two huge windows here, as well as another one there. So we've got almost 360 degree where we can see whatever scenery is there and enjoy it while we're sitting in. So if the weather's crap and it's raining and you're next to the coast, we can just chill and look out the windows. That was number one on the priority list. Now the next one wasn't essential because I didn't think I was going to be able to get it, but it was kind of a nice bonus if I managed to find it, which I did. If there was two seating areas, could one of them be a bit of an office? And this is exactly what I used all trip in Norway to make the videos, to do the photography, to finish writing the guides. My computer goes here, I plug my laptop into my screen, got my keyboard, nice mechanical keyboard, my mouse, and this is where I do all the work on the road. Next must for me was a nice sized kitchen area. The Grand California, you had like your hob, and then you had a tiny little area to work, like very small. You could fold something up and lie it on your bed if you want to be chopping food and preparing food literally where you're lying on a night time, which was a ridiculous design and very flimsy and just useless. This van, we've got a nice big fridge and freezer with a drinks part at the bottom. Got obviously a gas burner, two of them, as well as an induction hob, which is powered no problem with the electrical system, which I'll go through. And then we've got currently a very dusty Thetford duplex grill oven, which we very rarely use, as well as the sink, which is covered by that. Yeah, the kitchen is a nice place to work. There's enough space to prep your food here and cook it. And then you've got a table there, so if someone's sitting chilling, they can sit there while the other one's cooking. Works really well. Now the bathroom and shower, again, fully essential. 100% would never do without one ever again for like a proper camper van slash motorhome. I need a shower in the morning, otherwise I cannot operate. So having a nice shower and a bathroom is essential, and again was on the list of things that I would require without any negotiation. And we got a nice big bathroom, toilet, shower, sink. I suppose as soon as I got the van, I started to understand what the difference is between a motorhome and a camper van. A camper van to me, again, this is my personal opinion, feels like you're camping. It's a bit of an experience. It doesn't feel like home. It's an adventure. It's camping, which is great. If that's what you're looking for, that's fantastic. What I suppose I'd been looking for without realising was a home on wheels. And albeit some people no doubt feel that in a camper van, I just didn't get that feeling, where in the motorhome, I felt like I'm at home. So that, for me, was a massive thing that I didn't realise I was going to get, but I've gotten by having this van. There was another concern that I had before I bought the van, that a few other people who subscribed to us on YouTube shared the same concern, which was I used to go to the most little secluded country lane, narrow roads, and never worry about the Grand California, because let's face it, it's not that wide, it's not a problem to drive. And I did honestly think I was going to have to make some changes to how I travelled when I'm going to these rural places. And I've been very pleasantly surprised that I actually haven't needed to change my behaviours at all, because yes, it's a bit wider, not a lot, which we'll get through shortly, but in all fairness, it's fine to drive down all the same roads that I used to drive the Grand California down. That was kind of something I wasn't expecting. I did honestly think I was going to have to change just how I use the van a little bit, and that hasn't been the case whatsoever. So what are my favourite parts about this motorhome? The first is clearly this rear lounge and the layout of the van. I absolutely cannot explain how perfect this layout really is for me. Now remember that, and we'll get to that later. But this layout for me is the number one thing I love about the van. It's perfect. Massive lounge, loads of big windows. It's perfect. And the second thing is actually linked to the layout, and it's the space. The layout just works really well, and it creates so much inside space. You got nice floor area here. You got a very wide walkway. We can have me, Danny, and the dogs, all three of them, in this without feeling like you're tripping over each other. And when we go to campsites and stuff, although we kind of travel with all five of us in the van, we comfortably fit 5 of us, me, Danny, and 3 kids, and they're not really young kids anymore, and the 3 dogs in this van without feeling like you're constantly tripping over people. It's just enormous inside. And that's the next thing that I like. To explain the next bit, I need to be on my phone because I've got some numbers that I'll forget otherwise. And I would say one of my top things about this van is just how surprisingly big it is on the inside, based on how much bigger it isn't on the outside from the Grand California. So this van feels enormous. It's wide, it's spacious, it feels very long inside in comparison to the Grand California. But you'd be surprised to know that it's actually not that much bigger externally. So the VW Grand California is 5.99 metres in length. This is 6.99, so it's exactly 1 metre wider. Now, the width of the van itself, not including the wing mirrors, on the VW Grand California 600 is 2.04 metres. This is 2.35 metres, so it's 31 centimetres wider, which is what? That? A ruler that you used to use at school? Albeit, it's that much wider at the very top as well. Actually wider than that, because the VW Grand California in all panel vans are obviously sloped to the top a little bit. This doesn't. It's perfectly straight at the top, which is what gives you so much more space. And it's actually not as tall as the Grand California was. So that was 2.97 meters tall. This is 2.89 meters. So it's slightly smaller than the Grand California was in height. Some people will say rightly, well, this must be more of a pain to park. And it's actually not. The Grand California was too long to fit in just one bay. So you kind of always used to find a bay, or I used to, where I just park across one and a bit. This van, obviously, it's a metre longer, but I still have to approach car parking in the same way. So it hasn't really changed that either. And then the final thing that I really love about this van is its winter usability. And again, this will be different for different people. If you travel in the summer for long weekends and stuff like that, a little transport is probably perfect. You're going to get probably good weather, and worst case you're only away for a couple of days. That's not what we do, and I much prefer traveling in the winter when it's quiet and there's no one else about. That also comes with problems though, because it's going to be worse weather more regularly, which it always is in Scotland, and also it's dark, sometimes by like 3:30, 3 o'clock, which means you do spend a lot of time feeling like it's nighttime in the back of a van. So what kind of van do you want to spend that time in? And again, for us, the Grand California, we done it for 3 years, 50-odd thousand miles. It worked, but I wouldn't say I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thoroughly look forward to the winter just to sit in the back of the van. There is a caveat to that though, I suppose, because it is so comfortable and so nice in here. I do find myself spending more time in the van than I would have previously, because I actually like being in this van. That might sound like a good thing, which I suppose it is to a degree, but you can get a little bit too comfortable and not spend enough time out of the van because it's so comfortable in here. Problems and disappointments, and the first one has to be the build quality of the van. Now this isn't just applicable to this van, it's basically all motorhomes really. I've had people, before people jump on and be like, well, my Adria is fantastic, or my Heimer, German build quality. I've had people with every type of van you can possibly think of commenting on other videos saying I've had loads of issues with mine, build quality issues, this, that and the other, from budget vans all the way up to 250,000 quid motorhomes from Adria, like the Supersonics and some Heimers and other bits and bobs. So I don't think necessarily the brand, it does make a bit of difference, but it seems like it's not isolated. It seems to be the build quality for the price is just crap on all vans. That said, I have had also people with much more budget vans, like Eldest vans and other bits and bobs, saying that they've actually never had any issues with theirs whatsoever. So I think it seems to be depending on your van, the luck of the draw almost. I have had a lot of issues with this, and I'm not going to go over every single one now because I've got videos covering them all, but I had issues with the water system, I've had issues with the screws coming out of the oven and the oven sliding out nigh on. I've had bonding issues with the brow where it squeaks because it hasn't been bonded properly. The beds rattle like mad when you move at all. I've had lots of build quality issues which have been covered extensively in other videos, cabinets coming off, squeaks and all of that sort of stuff. But what I will say is the Grand California was no quieter to drive than this. It was terrible. Everything shook and rattled in that van. And the service from VW was miles worse than what Marquis have been. I think because VW specifically, it's the van centre, so they're used to dealing with builders and stuff like that. And then when you spend a lot of money on a camper van, I rang them once to book it in, and the woman was like, oh, we don't do conversions. And I was like, it's not a conversion. She was like, well, I've never heard of a Grand California before. What is it? This was VW that I was speaking to, by the way. So it's not just Marquis, but what I will say about Marquis, and I've had a lot to say previously, is the service from the service department specifically has been, I couldn't really ask for any more. I suppose they don't build the van at the end of the day, so it's not really their fault when things go wrong. So all you can really judge them off is how efficiently can they fix these problems. And I've had a couple of ones where they've fixed it and I've gotten it back and it's not really fixed, but then they've taken it back and it has been fixed again. He's always quick to email us. This is Nick specifically. He's been spot on. So yes, I've had my differences, but to be fair, they have been spot on for the last 6 months or so. On to modifications, because I have made a few, and if you've already seen the videos on that, I haven't made any more since, but I will be making quite a few more modifications in the coming months, so keep an eye on it. The first issue that I needed to fix with a modification was the electrical system, and this again isn't just an isolated thing. Most camper vans and motorhomes come with a standard 95 amp hour lead acid battery for like the leisure system, which the Grand California did, as did this. That means roughly you're getting about 50 amp usable, and that is pathetic. So in the Grand California, fridge ran off electric, so having the fridge on and maybe a light, and maybe if you've had the water pump running for a bit, overnight you'd drain the entire battery. It is a shambles. It's like having a couple of AA batteries, and they'll be marketed as off-grid. Technically, yes, not really. This was the same, exactly the same battery, but in a much bigger van with miles more lights, and these lights strangely use a hell of a lot of electricity, so I needed to fix that. So with this setup, I ended up going for a very serious and over-the-top electrical system because I wasn't sure what my needs were going to be in the future, and I wanted to over-invest in the van and have more than I need than be having to manage things, especially electric, when I rely on it for work, basically. So the electrical system that I've went for, I'll read it out for you. So I've got a massive 909 amp hours of lithium power with 3 Victron 330 amp Life PO4 smart batteries. They're controlled by a Victron Lynx BMS 500. I've got a Victron Serbo GX for all the monitoring and the Touch 70 touchscreen, which is up there, which I'll show you in a second, as well as the Multi Plus 2 3000 watt inverter charger. I've got the Orion XS 50 amp DC to DC charger and over 720 watt of solar. So I've got 2 Tiger X-Paired high voltage solar panels at the back, and I was also meant to have a high voltage at the front, but Bespoke Solar kind of let us down on that one, and I ended up with a standard 400 watt panel at the front, and each pair is connected to its own MPPT solar controller. What I also have is Ruvi tags, and people ask us about them all the time. I'm not going to put a link in the description because I'll forget, but they're called Ruvi, R-U-U-V-I, and the temperature tags. So I've got one in the fridge, one in the freezer, one internally, and another external waterproof one to monitor temperatures when I'm not in the van, or even when I'm in the van. So they sync up to your Victron system. That I set them up, or some of them up myself. They're a piece of cake to do. I've also had a water level sensor fitted as well, so for the fresh water I can monitor how much I've got left of that. And running off all of that electric all the time 24/7 is Starlink, which is mounted on the roof, hard mounted. It sits there on all the time, just plugged in. I haven't converted it to 12 volt or anything, runs as it is. That makes sure that my Ring doorbells, I've got one on the back and one on each side, as well as 2 internal cameras, always have a signal so I can check on the van no matter what. As well as that, I can use my VRM portal on my phone. Because of Starlink and because of the electrical system, I can leave all that on all the time. The next modification is actually definitely my favorite modification, even including the electrical system, and that is the HPC hydraulic leveling legs. It's completely changed how I get to use this van because I can park pretty much anywhere within reason, and it'll be nice and flat. I don't have to worry about headache when I wake up, or feeling like I've been dangled by my feet all night, or worrying about water draining out, or just any of that sort of stuff. I like to try and plan for any eventuality. So the next modification that I made was actually an underslung LPG tank, and yes, you can get the refillable bottles, which I nearly ended up buying, but what I want is options, and having LPG is fine providing you can get LPG. But if you can't get LPG and you're fully reliant on having, for example, refillable bottles, then what? Can also use me normal propane bottles. So I've got 2 6-kilogram bottles in the shed, as well as 2 11-kilogram flow gas bottles, so I can use any combination of them. Another modification that I made to the van is actually this corner, and you might not really be able to tell unless you'd seen the original videos, but this used to come up across here on like a 45-degree angle, so you'd sit at the table when you're eating or whatever. And I took it into the furniture clinic near where I live and got them to basically change this into a nice tight corner so I can sit like this way, or I can sit that way, and it just works better. Where previously, if I wanted to sort of sit like that, my back was on an angle and I just didn't like it. Laser lamps. If you travel mainly in the winter, which we definitely do, then a lot of lights are pretty essential, especially if you go in the middle of nowhere and you're going up Scotland. The deal stand on roads and stuff in the dark, and unless you can see them, they make life a lot harder. Plus, having these just when you're on a nice stretch of road, there's no one else in sight, and you just want to see what's ahead of you, these work really well. So these are all the elite ones, and again, you could more than make do with the standard triple R's or even the standard linear. You didn't need the elite. I just got a little bit carried away. So I've got all of these plus the fog lamps and them all wired up. So when I flash my lights, shazam, you can see into your past and your future. They're that bright. Next was definitely the most opinion splitting part of this van, which was the wheels and tyres. Some people really seem to be bothered that I've put Rogue alloys, because they're one of the cheaper brands I suppose, and all-terrain tyres on a motorhome. Again, it's just a personal thing. I've ran BF Goodrich all-terrain tyres, they're the KO2s, for 6 years now on 3 different vans, and they've always been spot on. You can run them a very low PSI in the winter when it's icy and snowy, and they work really well. You can run them higher and they're nice and smooth. You do get a bit extra road noise, you do lose a little bit of miles per gallon, But what I did make sure I done in this van is I actually went for the exact same tyre size and wheel size as what come as standard, so that the speedos are all correct. I just couldn't be chewed on with having the speedos a little bit out, because again, if you go for a bigger tyre, your speedo will be incorrect if your wheels are the same. You can go on, I think, willtheyfit.com, and it'll tell you where it's at. So that was one of them. The next modification was the wrap. I wanted to keep it looking kind of factory, but not. So I've left some of the original bits on. We've wrapped the top, wrapped all this black. Looks completely different to when I first got it. Looks miles better, again, in my opinion. Some people probably like it, other people probably hate it. But again, it's my van, and that's what I like. Just a quick one, because I forgot to mention an additional modification, which is I've got the VB Semi-S suspension on the back because of the difference in weight distribution. Now I've got batteries in the back rather than the front, and I upgraded the front suspension to the upgraded FSD strut kit as well. Ownership costs, the insurance is about the same as what the Grand California was. Again, that one was modified as well. Fuel economy, almost identical. Averages probably about 25 miles per gallon on a long trip. That's probably about the average for both of them. In general, running costs are not really any different at all. The cost that is very different is ferries. The CalMac ones though, say for the Isle of Arran as an example, is exactly twice as expensive. So because the van is over 6 meters and the Grand California was just shy of 6 meters, it's literally double. So the next question that I get loads, and I got asked when I first bought the van, is do I miss anything about the Grand California, or do I miss the Grand California? And the short answer is no, I definitely don't miss it. If I could substitute one thing in, it would be that I would love to have adaptive cruise control. I'm not even bothered about the automatic box, because the gearbox on this is actually really nice to use. It's a nice easy gearbox, smooth through the gears, the clutch is fine, it's great. Adaptive cruise control, I loved that, and I used it all the time, sitting in traffic, on national speed limit roads, when obviously I'm not going to be overtaken much in a Grand California. I was never bothered, and I'm the same in this. Just sit behind something, set it at the furthest distance, and just chill. So I wish it had that. Other than that, there's nothing that I miss about the Grand California whatsoever. And again, personal opinion, I think this is a better looking van. Do I regret this van or anything about this van? No. And I know some of you will be wanting us to, people love to see people feel and regret things. I don't regret anything. This van for me at this point in time, it could not be any more perfect. Let us be very clear about that. Build quality is build quality, that's a separate thing. But the van itself, the layout of it and everything else, how everything works, literally there's not a single change that anyone could make to the interior layout or anything of this van that would make it any better. It's perfect. I mean, I do 3D print little bits, I suppose, so like little trinkets here and there, but generally, there's nothing that I would change about this van. I love it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to stay that way. Things might change. I might, I don't know, get something else. I want to downsize. I might want to get a little transporter thing just so I can have that experience of kind of, and I'm not meaning to offend anyone, but kind of roughing it again. This is sometimes a little bit too comfortable. And it is. It's basically a house. So maybe in the future that might be on the cards. I don't know yet. But too many people will tell you that the van that they have, the layout they have, the manufacturer they have, is the one you should get. I will never and have never done that. I've done the same with the Grand California, and I'll do the same with this, and I would have if I was doing YouTube at the time with the transporter thing, the California Ocean. I would have done the same there. What I would suggest is, one, ignore YouTube reviews. I can't remember the couple, I think the slated is about my Grand California ownership videos, but people will be given vans by brands, by rental companies, and say, go out and make a video on that and review it. They're not gonna, they'll say, oh, this is what it's like to live with it. You do not know what it's like. If you lived in my house for a week, you wouldn't know what problems the house has got. You cannot use the van for a week and tell people what it's like to live with, because you haven't really lived with it yet. So one, ignore all of them videos, just completely disregard them, didn't even watch them, you're wasting your time. Two, find people that have the van, that make the videos about that van, and just focus on more the build quality issues, because the layout's completely subjective. It would be like me recommending a 1-bedroom flat in Newcastle to a couple who's got 4 kids and 2 dogs. Yes, it might be a nice 1-bedroom apartment or flat in Newcastle, but it doesn't work for the person I'm recommending it to. So how can I recommend it? You just can't. So just ignore all that. Focus on things like build quality, service, that kind of thing, the customer experience, because them are the actual things that apply to everyone, not just subjective things like layouts, like colours, like how many windows, what the bathroom looks like. All of that is just subjective. And finally, my biggest piece of advice to give you, to make sure that you can potentially find something that you love as much as I love this van and this layout, is shop around and try different layouts. Like, you know, as soon as you step foot in a house that you're going to buy, you just think, oh, this is it. This is the one. It's where we want it to be. It's this, it's that. That's exactly what I was like the second we got on this van. And I actually found this van over a year before we ended up buying it, because I wanted to let that bit fizzle out, because I know what I'm like. If I like something, I just want it now, because like I'm like, oh, I'm too spontaneous, and it was too much of an expensive decision to be that spontaneous. So I waited until I calmed down and see whether I still felt that way, and I did. As soon as I got back in, I'm like, that is the one. It just really is. So shop around, try different layouts. Don't be put off too much about the brands. It's more about, for me, the layout that works for you individually. Don't be listening to what your mates say or people who's got other vans. Just ignore all of that. It's your van. Find the thing that works for you. And don't worry about it. I get criticised for this van all the time on YouTube. People hate the fact that I love this van so much. But I just do. And I didn't care. So thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.